anymore. But yeah, that's a competitor's race.
So you're not going to like support like love of the sport. Like, what's wrong with that? Like, that isn't the point of this. We're trying to grow adventure racing from this niche, rich guy sport to like let people know what it's like. Come on, dude.
That's true, but we still look. I'm gonna wear this one for you,
Jeff. Hunter.
Yeah.
Hunter, I want to talk to you, young man.
Okay. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, buddy. I'm Matt. How old are you, Hunter?
I'm 19 now.
Have you been getting lots of how do we say drops into the DM since your big national television debut?
Yeah,
World television debut.
It is pretty crazy. It's funny that I've been doing it for like 13 years, and now this show comes out, and like everybody's like, all my friends like, oh my God, I didn't even know you did this. So yeah, I've gotten like 50 DMs. It's kind of crazy.
Has it improved your dating life?
Yeah, I have. Hopefully.
That's what I was getting.
He got hooked up right after the show. Tell him about that. That was great.
That's what I was getting into with the DM thing.
Yeah.
Are you talking about the New Zealand show?
Yeah.
Oh.
So we finished the race, and we're exhausted coming off the island, whatever. And while we're eating, I'm like just super sleep deprived, just sleeping there. But there's this big party going on, and in the party there's a bunch of teenagers, whatever, like 20-year-olds, and they're like, "Oh my God, you guys did Eco Challenge? Oh!" Like they were just like fangirling over us, and yeah, she was like, "Oh, you gotta follow me on Instagram and everything." So it's kind of funny. I was so tired and like sleepwalking, and she was hitting on me and everything. So now he's just giving me shit all this time. He's like, dude, nice. You need to fly to New Zealand now.
Nice. I can't wait. My son's 11, and can't wait for him to start dating so I can give him a super hard time, because that's what dad's job is, right? Embarrass your kid at every possible turn.
Absolutely.
Jeff, I sing quite often, and I don't sing very well. And my kids are horribly embarrassed by it. And so I just do it more. I mean, that's just what you do, right?
Absolutely. I do it all the time. And I try to embarrass him, but his mother does a really good job of embarrassing him.
Right. Well, listen, Jeff, kidding aside, I'm absolutely going to promote your company and your race. I've told you, I've already got like 5 people signed up for this thing.
I know. We keep getting messages and stuff like, hey, we were recommended to this race. I'm like, who recommended that? And I look and I see, of course, it's your friend. So, somebody we didn't know.
So we'll definitely, but we're going to talk about adventure racing. And I've interviewed a few of your competitors, and I don't want to ask you like all the same questions, but I do want to continue to broaden my experience. I talked to Team Bend yesterday. They were good guys. Who else did I have on already? Can't remember.
Okay.
But people have a lot of questions about the show, and as far as your experience on the show, let's start with where you rank the difficulty rating compared to other adventure races you've done.
Yeah. Okay. It definitely so far was the toughest race. And I just posted this morning about how obviously the race was a lot different from any other adventure race. I mean, the hype, the opportunity to hang out with Bear Grylls before, the opportunity to hang out with some of the top teams. I mean, getting to Fiji 6 days in advance of the race and then going through all these different scenarios with the race, other racers was a really cool experience, because normally when you show up in a race, it's just nonstop. It's a race before the race. You got to get your gear ready. You got to get your bike set up. You got to get this. You got to go through instructions. You got to go through pre-race, look at maps, all kinds of chaos. You don't really have time to sit down and really talk to the other racers. And I think that was the best experience that we had. But when it comes to the race itself, all that pressure of being on Eco, all the pressure of being filmed all the time, telling the story right, when you're on camera, it's a little bit different, but I think it was the course itself was masterminded perfectly. I think that was a very, very tough course in the sense that it was allowed them to give us them opportunity to film us. And it was hard enough to really destroy good athletes, and as well as anybody out there that wasn't experienced. I have no idea how they made it through, and I give them so much more respect than an advanced team, because they really struggled to get through that, and that was incredible.
Well, Team Ben told me that the difference, the course was certainly as difficult. The difference was they made it longer. Like normally they say it's like a 7-day limit. So then you would have only had like 20 teams finish instead of 44, which makes sense to me that for a television program, and you want to give these new people who clearly had like never, done this before.
So my takeaway from it was by far the toughest race I've ever done. Like the course design was just insane. Like the disciplines, like the hike-a-bike, that muddy section for like, I felt like 10 hours or so. No other adventure race would do something like that. And it was just so tough. But the only thing that made it somewhat easier than, like, let's say World Championships was the cutoffs. They allowed us to be out there for a long time. So unlike World Championships or other World Series races, if you make a mistake, you have to push really hard to catch back up or you're cut out of the race. This race, like if we made a mistake, we were like 2 days ahead of some cutoffs, and it was like relaxing. If you were tough enough, you can make it through the race. You didn't have to be super fast. You just had to be tough and keep going.
How typical was the hike-a-bike thing? Because a 60 or a 70 kilometer bike ride is like a pretty good bike ride anyway, when you consider elevation, etc. But all the times that they showed you guys just fucking carrying it because you couldn't even go downhill, like that to me looked miserable.
It was mostly hike-a-bike. Like all the bike legs, I would say over 50% was hike-a-bike. Even the downhills, you're going muddy downhills and you just slide out and you can't even bike it. And yeah, so mostly hike-a-bike.
Yeah, there wasn't, like in the States, we've got nice groomed mountain bike trails, and it's pretty safe because obviously, no one wants to get hurt. But over there are horses, people, all kinds of things are on these trails that are not made for mountain biking. I mean, they're not made. So only a real experienced biker can even handle it. Even in the video, you saw Mike Closer, world championship mountain biker. He just ate it. I mean, so if he can't make it through, not a normal person it's going to be tough for them.
Hey, we're going to jump all over order-wise because that's just how my brain works. Before I forget, I have to ask. I understand the massive undertaking it is to navigate. It's not like a road race. There's not simple little flags. You got to figure out where you're going. However, when you're at a section, which was stand-up paddleboard down the little creek, I understand the creek was empty, so it was difficult. But how do you get lost in a creek that I think a creek only goes one way?
Right. No, it's split into like 4 different directions there. And I love how they portrayed a 15-minute decision into like we were lost. It was awesome. I was like, what? We were lost a lot more than that in the race, but that was just happened to be where the cameraman was following us. And navigation is patient. You have to be patient with navigation. And so many teams just they get to an intersection like that and they make a quick decision. And if that decision is wrong, they don't realize they made a mistake until hours later. And so creeks all look the same up there. They all look like, all right, if this creek is going up through that valley there, that's perfect. But the problem is creek also goes up that valley over there. Creek also goes up that valley over there. It all mirrors. They all look alike. Nature looks a lot alike. And so if you make the wrong decision, you could be out there forever. I was at an intersection where I was trying to figure out which direction we needed to go. The one creek went the wrong direction. The other creek went completely the opposite direction, but where we needed to go was no creek. You had to go across land to get to where we needed to be. And of course, with no land, we're like, wait a minute, aren't we supposed to be paddling? Well, no. So
what it doesn't show on the show was on the map, it showed a big lake. It wasn't even supposed to be a creek.
Yeah, it's supposed to be
You
a
got to
lake.
get a little bit closer to the mic there, Hunter.
Yeah, it was supposed to be just a big lake. So on the maps, it doesn't show any tributaries or any creeks and everything. But when we're there, it's like, oh my God, it's like 3 different branch offs. But
So isn't it typically the nav person is not the captain, or is that how does that usually go?
usually, yeah.
Yeah.
But
Usually you want each person to have a responsibility.
Right.
If the navigator is the captain as well, he's not monitoring his racers. He's monitoring just navigation. So you typically want to split that up. Each role you definitely want to split it up. So and Hunter was the mule, so he was in charge of keeping an eye on when someone needs help or carrying the more weight than others, pushing our bikes when up the hills. And I mean, he pushed my bike a lot. I mean, I would struggle. He'd either take my backpack and put it on his chest. So now he's carrying 30 pounds in the front, 30 pounds in the back, plus his bike. And he would do that just to give me a relief, up some of these hills and stuff. So everybody has to have their role.
How much do you weigh, Hunter?
I weigh 165.
And you're carrying, that's a lot of weight, dude.
Yeah, it's good training. That I'm used to carrying a lot of heavy backpacks and stuff, so it doesn't slow me down. As long as I can suffer for the team and make us all go faster, it's worth it.
So where do you all live? What town are you in?
We're in Canton, Georgia.
Okay, so you're about what, 30 miles from me? I'm in Midtown right now.
Yeah. We're about 35 miles out, and we're about 30 miles from the mountains. So we're right in between Atlanta and the mountains. So
okay, so how does one practice? How does one train for these kind of races?
Oh well, of course, if you saw how many different disciplines there are in the race. One of the things that is key is good mountain biking skills. So obviously, if you can get up into the mountains, Mulberry Gap or anything up there where it's high elevation mountain biking, that is really the key. To cover the fastest amount of ground is definitely on your mountain bike. Trekking is the second thing. Trekking being getting out there and trail running, obviously getting that toned in. And also too, the one thing that we didn't train as much on was paddling. We did not expect to have that much paddling in Eco Challenge. Usually it's a third, but there was a lot of paddling.
It was like half of it.
It was like half of it was paddling.
That's why Team New Zealand are the best paddlers in the world. So that's why they crush everybody.
Team Ben told me they spent more time than anything working on paddling, and it's how they got out to such a big lead. And obviously they had some issues with the sun, which hopefully you'll listen to that episode. We had a good chat. But they said they worked on that a ton.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And we didn't. I mean, we worked on it a little bit, but again.
So where would you go? Where would you go to work on that?
Just any lake. I mean, Lake Leininger, Lake Altoona.
What about Lake Altoona, maybe? Go up Lake Altoona?
Yeah, Lake Altoona.
Listen, I've lived in Ackworth. I've lived near Woodstock, so I get it, man. I've been up there.
There's a little twang up here, which we hadn't gotten quite used to yet. So.
Where did you come from?
St. Augustine, so.
Florida.
And what brought you to Canton, Georgia?
Well, the mountains. Yeah, I mean, I've always been coming up here for a long, long time. My parents owned a cabin in Gatlinburg, Tennessee, so I spent most of my summers as a kid up there. And so our family always traveled to the mountains in the summertime. When I got introduced to adventure racing, there was a race up here called the Blue Ridge Adventure Race. And it was one of the most popular in the Southeast. And of course, it's in the mountains. Well, we decided to go. I came up here, met the race director. It just so happens to be that he wanted to retire, and he wanted to give me the opportunity of taking over as an RD for that race, which was a huge honor. I mean, 17 years this guy's been doing that race, and he introduced me to the city, which was obviously sponsors the race. So it was a great opportunity. Once that happened, I really wanted to put on more races up here, but I lived in St. Augustine. So I told Hunter and I told his brother, I said, when you guys are out of school, I'm gone. We're moving. There's no ties to Florida anymore. I want to move up to the mountains. So that's why we picked Canton.
And talk to me about your athletic background.
I dabbled in all kinds of things when I was younger. Obviously, I ran cross country when I was in high school. When I got out of high school, I got into paintball. Just had started up, so I was a pro paintball player out of Orlando, and I did that for about 6 or 7 years. Really enjoyed paintball. It was an aggressive, wild sport at the time, and if you were fast, you could be a really good team. So that was exciting. And then I got into the corporate world and ended up playing golf and gaining a whole bunch of weight and just sitting around doing nothing. And one day, it was the Eco Challenge videos were out. My wife at the time had showed me the videos about Eco Challenge, and I said, man, one day I want to do that. And it kind of encouraged me back then. 2002, it encouraged me to kind of get up and do something. And so then I got into ultra running, marathons. Then I found adventure racing, and that's when I really found my niche was adventure racing.
Do you have any finishers you're really proud of?
Oh, well, yeah, the Eco Challenge. That's by far the number one so far. Finishes, I finished the Goofy at Disney World. So I did the 10K on Friday. I did the half marathon on Saturday, and then I did a full marathon on Sunday.
You did that a long time ago.
Yeah, I did a long. So that was when I was running marathons. That was a big accomplishment because it was a lot like adventure racing, multiple days of racing. But I was able to stay in a nice Disney resort in between. But that was a big accomplishment, I think, in the early days. Yeah.
So Hunter, when your dad started asking you to come along, was it an easy sell, or were you like not into it at first?
No, I didn't ask him.
I had to sell him on me.
Yeah.
I had to keep asking him, can I come out and do this? So for the first year or so, he's like, no, you're too young. I finally convinced him, and then he had to convince the race director. So no, it was an easy sell after a year or so. But
well, speaking of people that know me, I know there's a certain 13-year-old that asked if he could do your race. And I was like, he's probably going to say yes, considering he's brought his boy, all over the world or whatever.
Uh-huh. Absolutely. Yeah.
So,
I mean, that's the whole push for Hunter, is that he started realizing that there wasn't any kids in our sport. And he really was trying to push for more kids to be involved. It was always the fear factor in the beginning, is that, I can't let my kid be out there in the race, in a race. However, you don't realize the parents are with them. They're not just out there. You just don't release them into the woods and go, here, good luck, kid. That would be dangerous, of course.
That'd be fun.
But you're with a family member. I mean, you have to be with an adult, and it's a team sport. So when there's 3 other people looking out for Hunter, it was a no-brainer. It was just easy for him to just be able to tag along, and he just started encouraging other kids to get out there.
And do you put him to work during your ultra? Like, will he be manning an aid station?
He's going to be embedded photographer, so he'll be running alongside you guys and taking pictures, doing video. He's in charge of media during the race. So,
oh, okay. That's cool.
Last year at the Blue Ridge Ultra, I actually ran like 65 kilometers or something, and the race was only 50K. And I was just running up and down every mountain, filming every racer pretty much.
You got to turn off your notifications, like something's going on.
I see that. I'm getting a lot of fan mail.
Because I bring my boy out to a lot of stuff. So he's 11 now, and I've been bringing him to obstacle races since he was 5. So I was thinking about maybe bringing him up to hang out that weekend that we go up there.
Get your kids out and show them an opportunity. The children look up to you as a superhero. They look at you as a super dad. And so whatever you're interested in, whatever you're passionate about, typically the kids like to be involved in that. So many parents push sports onto kids instead of just taking them and showing them the opportunity. And then they, on their own, make the decision to want to be a part of it. Like I said, he just came to a couple of my races, and he's like, Dad, I want to do this. And I'm like, and I was skeptical. Are you sure? I mean, there's gators, there's snakes, there's swamps, it's scary to me. And you want to come out there? And it was a no-brainer. Once he did it, it was it. He was hooked.
My buddy Dario wanted me to ask you, how typical is it the section where they say, hey, you can hire a town folk. You can use a mule, a literal mule or a human mule. Is that typical? Is that normal?
No, not
First
in,
time
not,
ever.
yeah, that's an eco thing. Eco picks a country, picks a location to embed the local culture. So they really want to emphasize that. They get in way, way early and build huge relationships with the country that is hosting the event. And they embed you in that. So like in Monaco, you were able to hire a camel to go across the desert. So, I mean, in Utah, you can hire a horse to go across the desert section there. So there's all kinds of things. Now, the one thing that you don't realize in that is that once you hire that horse, that becomes a teammate. So if the horse decides he doesn't want to go, it doesn't want to go. So we lost our horse halfway through the trek because the horse just didn't want to go anymore. And you had no choice but to take your backpacks off the horse, and the horse turned around and went back. So that's something unique to Eco Challenge. It's not typical in an adventure race.
First time ever doing that.
Yeah, because I thought, listen, it's fair game because whenever you arrive, you're allowed to get help from the town. But on the Billies, for example, if you got there early, there was a guy like hacking away and making paddles for everyone. And if you got there later, maybe not. So that seemed a little wonky. Are there rules about that? Like, how does that usually go?
It was like most adventure races, no, you're not allowed to have any outside assistance, but it's not pre-planned assistance. That's the only thing. Like, we didn't plan for that guy to be there making us paddles. It was just happened to be there. And we weren't the only team to get those paddles, and other teams.
I'm sure. No, I saw him do it for multiple people. But again, if you showed up late at night and he's not there, like, oh well.
Yeah, I mean, it was a lot of
It's all luck.
Yeah, it's all luck. I mean, it's adventure racing is the luck of the draw. You saw the weather problems. Obviously, the top teams were able to make it through that canyon and continue on through that canyon, where most of us got trapped there at Camp 1. We couldn't go through the canyon because of weather. It's timing. They were far enough ahead through the danger, but then they might enter danger before us. They may have a hard time something. When they pulled out the Billies, they were so lucky. The top teams were so lucky. The water was high enough. They were able to pull out, pull right on bank. They were in and out of there in 5 minutes. It took us 2 hours to get up the embankment because we had to disassemble our Billies one pole at a time and take them up a muddy embankment because it was 20, 25 feet up.
It felt like a Spartan race in there.
It was horrible. It took us 2 hours at least to disassemble that. So we looked at the video and like, man, what kind of crap is that? But I've also already been DM'd a bunch about how did you figure out how to do those kayak paddles? So many teams were bent because we did that and they were out there just rowing away with nothing. And so that's just the luck of the draw. It's kind of like trail magic. You know, when you're out hiking the AT, you happen to come across something that somebody left for you. It's just the luck of the draw to be there.
AT, for those new folks, is the Appalachian Trail. It goes from Maine to Georgia. Gotta fill in the new folks. Oh man, I totally just lost my question. What the hell were you just talking about?
Billy, disassembling.
Local assistance.
Luck of the draw.
Horses.
I think we were talking about
When you were in that, you know, hotel room or wherever you were that last night before you started and you're all gathered up, was the conversation, guys, we're just here to have fun and finish this thing? Was it, hey, we want to be in the middle of the pack? What was the conversation?
So from the beginning, our main goal was just to finish. That's all we cared about, and we didn't know what we were getting into because we have no clue what the course is going to be. So our main goal was just to finish. Then halfway through, we were looking at our position. We were like 20th place or so. So we're like, oh man, we could push maybe for the top 15 or top 10 or something crazy. And then at the swim section, our race kind of fell apart there and we all got hypothermic. So then we switched our goal back to just finishing. We didn't care about placement. We were just like, let's just finish this thing. So yeah, it was just, you change your strategy, I guess.
Well, everybody seemed to get their ass kicked at that swim. It looked brutal. I mean, that was, you know, as many times as Bear Grylls said, this is the most brutal part of this
It's
course.
Brutal.
These guys are going to have to really just use their grit. As many times as he said that, I know from having done water submersions, multiple water submersions at obstacle racing and at like World's Toughest Mudder, that it was what, 4 miles, 5 miles of swim?
About five and a half miles. Yeah.
And you're just like,
Yeah.
freezing because you're not swimming. There's no stroking involved because you've got your, mostly dog paddle. Although if you saw the woman from Iron Cowboy, or was it Iron Cowboy, or showed how to swim with it. She tied it to her back.
Yeah.
Smart.
Her weight. Yeah.
Yeah, it was smart. We were kind of jealous. We were doggy paddling for 8 hours.
Most people doggy paddled. So anyhow, that looked to me to be the most miserable. So when you got to the warming tent after that, were you guys just in rough shape?
Oh, we didn't get to the warming
tent till next day.
So we started the swim at night. So as soon as the sun went down, it started raining on us. So the temperature of the water was probably way lower than 52 degrees. And we were kind of lost on the map because there was so many bends, we couldn't keep track of where we were. And 2 of our teammates were getting really hypothermic. And our female on our team was super skinny, like no body fat at all. So it was easy for her to get hypothermic. And we actually pulled out on a dry rock in the middle of the water, and all stripped down. And we slept there for like 4 hours until the sun came up. Just
with the Belgium team. Yeah.
With the Belgium team, just freezing there on a rock. So
oh my God. Sounds
we
horrible.
wake up and we find a trailer that's right there, and we're like a half a mile from the warming tent. So it's pretty depressing. But after that, then we're like, all right, that was close to almost quitting. So let's just finish this thing and not worry about pushing so hard and trying to win.
But even from there, it's another 2 days before you're done, right?
Oh no, that was a long time before we got
3 days or so.
Yeah, 3-4 more days.
But we knew that was the crux of the whole race. So we knew once we got through that, then it was like.
So the entire course is laid out at the beginning. Yes, the entire course, or no?
Only when he pulled that down was the first time we got to see it.
But we still didn't know. We just saw the outline of the course. We didn't know. Okay, that's paddling, that's biking, that's trekking. So at each camp, we found out the next 3 sections until the next camp. So we only knew the next 2 days sections.
And what's the rule on checkpoints? Because it showed some people skipping one. So are you allowed to cut through?
No. All checkpoints were mandatory.
So you can take shortcuts as long as you hit the.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, we took a really nice check. We took a couple of little shortcuts that we thought were going to be. Well, there's a lot of teams that thought they were going to be profitable, and they ended up being a nightmare for them. But we actually had a couple of shortcuts that really pushed us in front, really, really fast. But it was just you have to be just really careful when you nav like that.
Yeah, because when you said you don't know you're going the wrong way for a long time, is there any way to avoid that? Is there any way to because you always, it's we've all, those of us who are listening to the show have gotten lost in an obstacle race or maybe even an ultra, and not before too long you go, I haven't seen flags in a minute. Maybe you go 1 or 2 miles off course, so you got to come back 2 miles. But, we're talking 8 hours, right? 12 hours people get lost. So, is there any way to kind of keep double checking along the way to make sure that doesn't happen?
Well, once you throw sleep deprivation in there, everybody can look at the show and go, why are they suffering through this? Why is this? Why are they acting the way they are? To me, viewing it looks so easy. Why can't you just do that? Well, golf looks easy on TV. Go try it. You don't understand that it's in that mindset. It's your mind just not 100% there. You throw in darkness, sleep deprivation, you're exhausted. Do anything for 24 hours straight and you're going to be exhausted, and then times that by 10. You get out there and your mind makes bad decisions. If your navigator makes a bad decision, well, you're set. He's set in his mind. We've done it so many times in races. You're just like, I know this is the right stream to go up. I know it. I got it. I got the map. I'm doing good. I look at my compass. We're going southeast. That's perfect. The problem is you need to be going southeast. And then what happens is you don't catch your mistakes. Remember, trails or rivers all zigzag sort of in the same pattern. You just happen to be in the wrong one. And when you're in the wrong one, it's a nightmare. You got to back up and go all the way back. And then the team gets mad and they get frustrated and they're exhausted. So it's easier said than done.
Yeah. Doing anything for 8 or 10 hours, like I can run a race that's the race, not a section of the race. Like just one section is 8 to 10 to 12 hours. And so you just, so I talked to Rhea. So Rhea and Ryan are from Canada Adventure there, who obviously most people listening to the show know. And they said they took, like, I was like, what did you carry between? And she's like, mandatory gear, enough food for 30 hours. And I'm like, and they're moving fast.
Yeah.
So is that what you did? Like, we got to have enough food for over a day because you just never know.
Yeah.
Between sections.
That was the thing. We had no clue how long the sections were. So we were doing like 2 days worth of food and stuff. And since I was a mule, I would carry like a whole another big bag of like 10 hours of extra food just in case we ran out, because it happened. The whole team ran out of food the last stretch, and I had this reserve bag set aside that we actually could survive off of. But that was the tricky thing. You didn't know what to pack until you got to the camp.
And you don't know how long. You can look at it. I can look at the map and go, all right, no problem. We got a 50K trek and we've got a 80K bike. All right, I'm thinking, I do my math in my head. All right, so we're under 24 hours. That should be it. But the problem is you don't know what the terrain's like. You don't know what's ahead of you. You don't know what if Hunter gets cramp or if I'm dehydrated. We just don't know those scenarios. So it ends up being 36 hours. And so you have to be prepared for it. And he was running a test run yesterday on the Appalachian Trail. And we drove the ambulance which is our support vehicle, to a location that I thought was where he was going to cross. And it just so happens to be we were 5 miles below him. And so he calls me. He's like, Dad, I'm at the intersection. Where are you? I'm like, we're here. And he's like, no, you're not. And it just happens to be that he had to deal with that. He had to deal with the fact that now he's got to go another 5 miles. He's going to have to find some water because he didn't get resupplied, and he has no food. So he's going to have to deal with it. So in adventure racing, you really have to deal with it. And if you don't deal with it, you cry and you get upset, and it makes for good TV. So
right. Kind of like, when I go to meet you and you're at the Starbucks down the street, kind of the same thing, right?
Yeah. Look,
Yeah, very much.
You get upset. Yeah. You're at the wrong Starbucks.
Oh, man.
By the way, I got to plug my new sponsor. Dunkin' Donuts is our new sponsor. So.
Oh, well, fans of the show know I'm a huge Dunkin' guy. So let's talk about your race. So, talk about trail magic. I was supposed to do Boston Marathon for the first time. I'm not quick enough to qualify, so I did the money raising thing. It was supposed to be in April. In April, they tell me it's September. And then somewhere in the middle of the summer, they said, ain't going to happen. I'm like, listen, I'm training. I'm running my ass off. I'm picking something. And I haven't done an ultra in a while anyway. So, I can bump my marathon training to a 50K training. And me and my buddy Dario are looking. Let's find something, kind of near one of us, and we'll meet. And I find this thing, Blue Ridge Ultra, never heard of it. It's on Ultra Sign Up. It looks open. Boom, I sign up. Maybe a week later, I get a message from this guy, Jeff, who's like, hey, I was just on this show. Maybe you heard about it. And I'm trying to get, the word out about adventure racing in Georgia. And you and I were talking for maybe like 10 minutes before I even realized you were the same guy.
Yeah. It's right now, 2020 is the luck of the draw. I had so many friends that are so disappointed that their races were canceled. A lot of these big races, Jenny with the Georgia Jewel, she has worked so hard. It's really, you have no idea how hard race directors are working right now to pull off races. We're doing more paperwork and more follow-up. We're so connected with the Forest Service and the state parks and so forth that it's just unbelievable. I've never done so much work to pull off a race. And it's the passion behind race directors that really pushes us. I think if you don't have the passion and it just becomes routine, that the race directors, I think, pull the races. I think you can still pull it off and still fight all the way to the end. I heard Badwater, they were fighting all the way to the end. They didn't let people know till like the week of that it was canceled. But I know that the race director was probably working as hard as he could and as much as he could to get it done. Unfortunately, we're in a state where we are susceptible to whatever the state and local governments say.
So, so right now we're a go, but it could happen. I mean, we don't want it to, but it could happen that you get the plug pulled on you, correct?
Not now. So what happens is I try to cancel the race. I've already had to cancel one in April, and I had to cancel one in Tennessee that was in August here. And what we try to do is give a 2-month window. So I try to do a 60-day window because people are traveling for adventure racing. People are traveling in from other states and so forth. They've got logistics, they've got airfare, they've got hotels. So we try to give it 2 months. So if we are 2 months before the race, you're pretty much good. So right now it's the 19th and the Blue Ridge Ultra is on the 10th. So we're over the 2 month. So we're pretty much in good shape. We have been, like I said, we are so embedded with the Forest Service right now that they would give us indication that something was wrong, but nothing.
Can't the county or the governor do something? Listen, I don't want it to happen. I'm just trying to get information.
Yeah.
Couldn't it? It's possible that they could shut us down. We don't think it's going to, but it is possible.
Always, yeah. If the governor's office puts out a mandate, no more, then yeah, it absolutely. But the numbers, the coronavirus numbers would have to go up dramatically for that to happen, or something would have to happen, because our governor in Georgia is very relaxed about state parks. He wants people to get outside and not be trapped inside their homes. He's really, really pushing to have the park, like Fort Yargo stayed open this entire time, but Kennesaw was shut down. So, it all depends on the park, the location. We're up here far enough away from Atlanta to where our numbers are pretty low, and the state parks have had no problems and Forest Service has had no issues. So it's pretty wide open. But Tennessee, where I had my race, completely shut down everything. All special use permits, they're no-go. So that's out of my control. But right now we're pretty good. We're in great shape now. I feel more comfortable than I ever did before.
So why don't we let the folks know what is in store for them at the 50K? Or you have 2 distances, right?
3. We have 15, 30, and 50.
Okay. So what is in store for us when we get there? What is your race going to entail? First of all, is there a good spot for dinner the night before? Are there nearby Starbucks for before and after?
Yeah, so that was our key thing. We have a race that is typically in May, the Blue Ridge Adventure Race. The only way that we could pull it off was we had to remove it from the city. We had to put it out on private property. We got some people to donate land for us, and we were able to use private property because basically the city all the restaurants were shut down. All the venues were shut down. So it wasn't a tourist town anymore. It's opened back up now with different regulations, but it's opened. Hotels are back open. Everything is sort of back to normal in Blue Ridge, which is awesome because if you've never been to Blue Ridge, this town, it's awesome. I mean, there's all kinds of new restaurants. There's breweries. There's one of our sponsors is Grumpy Old Men Brewery. If you haven't had their beer, you love beer, they've got I was told they have the best beer up here, but I don't drink. So, but I was told it was really good. So there's all kinds of things to do in Blue Ridge. So that's what makes it so unique about this ultra is the city of Blue Ridge.
Okay. So now let's talk about the race.
Yeah.
What do you have in store of us? Talk about elevation gain, talk about what we're going to see.
Okay. So Ron Zadorga is a huge ultra runner. He is 80 years old now. He's the guy who created the race. He designed the course for me. He lives up there. He knows the trails back, by the back of his hand. So he designed the course. What I told him was I wanted a course that I don't like loop courses. I actually like point to points. That's my thing. Cause all of my adventure races are sort of always point to point. So I wanted to kind of mirror that into the ultra community, is to be more of a point to point. This race has 3 loops. Not one of them sets foot back on the same trail. So you'll never set foot on the same trail twice. I want to give you a variety of trails. You're going to start off on a road trail that we developed. It's an old Forest Service road. It comes up over the mountain, goes down along the river, which is really beautiful. So it's going to be rugged. It's going to be rocks. It's going to be crawling over logs, under logs. It's going to be a little bit more rugged than you're used to. Then you bust out, you come to aid station 1, you go a Forest Service road up to a gap, and then you pick up the Bit Mackay. So the Bit Mackay trail, then you
the BMT trail.
The BMT trail, correct. So you'll run that for a good portion of the first half of the race. Then you come back down, you're back on a Forest Service road, you get a little bit of relax from the elevation gain and all the single track. You run the Forest Service road for a while, and then all of a sudden I bust you right back up to the BMT through what we call the Killer K. It's a kilometer of brutal off-trail experience.
It's gonna be a brutal off-trail.
It's gonna be brutal.
He's gonna be in his helicopter flying over that section.
We're going to break so many people at this point.
Just so I can know, although I'll probably forget, what point, what race, what mile marker or what K marker is that at?
Right there, that is right. Yeah, it's about 25 miles in. Yeah.
Okay, so right when everyone's hitting the wall anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right in
Nice.
the marathon, you'll be hitting it again.
Yeah. So
Nice.
you're gonna hit that Killer K.
And then you finish on the BMT.
I want to give you guys a flavor of what we have to do during an adventure race. We bushwhack a lot during that adventure racing because it's not a set course. You have to figure out which way you want to go. Yeah, there's trails out there and they connect and you can take trails, but the trail may be longer. You might just want to bust down straight down the mountain onto a road, take the road. So I'm going to give you a little bit of taste of what adventure racing is like. However, I'm going to mark the entire section so you don't get lost during that bushwhack, but
Right.
you will.
And so there are how many aid stations?
There are 5.
Okay. And so are we going, is it like cloverleaf, like out and back, out and back, out and back?
No, it's basically one giant, long, stretched out loop, and the aid stations are along the way in between those loops.
Okay, so what is that? Every 6K? I'm bad at math.
Oh yeah, so about every 4 miles, yeah.
Oh,
5
easy
miles.
peasy, easy peasy.
Easy.
And is there a drop bag? I can't remember.
No, not in this race. The drop bags were at Fort Yargo because of COVID. We had to separate everything. But right now what we've done is we're allowed to use small packaged items like chips and peanuts and M&Ms and stuff, as long as they're in small packages. The days of obviously the big open jar of M&Ms and everybody just digs in and this is pretty gone. We're going to have bottled water so you don't have to everyone touch the cooler and fill up their bladders. So all that now is, accessible. So you shouldn't have to have a drop bag during this race.
Okay, so but there will be so instead of just a big bag of M&Ms and there's just gonna be little baggies of things. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, so we got airline food. So airline Delta though. We went with Delta, so we support the local.
So that's another thing Hunter's gonna have to do night before, stuff all those little bags.
Oh yeah.
No, they're already stuffed. It's like I guess you could buy cookies, popcorn, chips, pretzels, all cans of candy, and a 1 ounce little bag of food. Instead of going to the store, you'd end up with like a 3 or a 4 ounce.
Right.
These are small basically airplane little snacks.
Got it.
Yeah.
What shoes would you wear if you were running this race?
So I personally wear Hoka's, but because the beginning is tough. Which model?
Speed Goat or Torrent?
Speed Goats or Torrents, but I think I would lean more towards Speed Goats because the second half there's some good dirt roads that you can catch a lot of speed on. So I think Speed Goats.
Jeff, what do you like? What's your shoe of choice for an ultra like this?
Converse.
Are you one of those guys?
Ultras.
My new Ultras.
Yeah. So I just got the Speed Goat 4. I'd never worn the Speed Goats, heard about them for years. And I now have the GTX, which is the rain-proof version. Could be my favorite shoe ever. Love it, love it, love it. I might have to buy another pair between now and the race just because I'm putting so many miles on these. Oh, my goodness. Huge fan, so I'm glad you said that.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, shoes are definitely important. You never know what the weather you're going to get out there either. I mean, you're not going to be climbing over any rocks where it's going to be slippery for a long portion of time. So, the grip isn't as important. Comfort in this type of race is more important
Right.
than anything else.
But I don't need massive lugs. That was really the question.
No.
It's not a super technical course at all. Like, it's not super rooty. There's not a lot of rocks. It's smooth. Bimaki is smooth, but it's a lot of elevation gain.
Right. So it's 6K of elevation gain?
Somewhere around there, yeah. 6 to 8.
Right.
Yeah.
By the way, this is all for my listeners. I know some people are doing it. I usually like just to go. Like, I don't want to see a map. Just fucking point me in the right direction. I'm much more that guy
I like that.
than anything.
Well, then you would like adventure racing because you don't even know till the morning of when I give you the instructions what are you even going to do?
Well, my buddy and I were just talking. A lot of people in obstacle racing are talking about it. Hey, let's sign up. Let's try to go to Patagonia, like all that stuff. And I'll be honest, I am not ready for some 10-day.
Don't do that.
I'm not ready for that. I would like the 1-day version, right? Like I might be down for that. So I think I might, if you've got those going on next year.
We got one coming up in the next month.
Yeah, so we have races anywhere from 8 hours all the way to 3 days. So, and all of a sudden, obviously because of Eco Challenge, the C2C, that's basically the race that we do across Florida. It's an adventure race. Is already had a huge bump over the weekend for people signing up for that. We also have the Across Florida, which is obviously the trail run that's in November, where you just run across the state of Florida. And that one just got a hit. So we're excited.
How many miles is that?
200 even.
Can I just go down to Miami and run the short version?
You could do that, but it's not as nice.
No, actually, that sounds interesting to me. Maybe not this year, but actually, I like that. That one sounds fun to me.
We just have an 11-year-old sign up for that.
For the Across Florida?
Across Florida, 11-year-old. She completed my C2C race last February, which was she had to mountain bike, paddle, and run across the state of Florida. Now she's signed up for the Across Florida to run, just run only across. So,
what's the cutoff on that?
85 hours.
So you got to average, I think, 25-minute pace or something.
Yeah,
like that?
20 to 25. Yeah.
So
Yeah. Again, many of my listeners have done, even a 24-hour race. Once you get into that second night of sleep, man, that's where the fucking zombies come out, man.
60 hours is the limit.
60 is the threshold.
60.
Yeah.
Well, from my personal experience, after like 2 days, it's like, ugh, it's not worth pushing through that sleep deprivation. Just sleep for 20 minutes and you'll be better.
All right. So tell people website or where they can find stuff.
Sure. Everything's located on argeorgia.com. Real simple. Obviously, AR Georgia on Facebook, at AR Georgia on Instagram.
And what's Hunter's Instagram? Or does he not want to give it out?
More DMs. No, Hunter Leininger, just my name. It's an underscore underneath. Hunter_Leininger. But
did you see this sweet photo I posted of you, buddy?
No.
What?
On Instagram or Facebook? Oh,
yeah, that one.
You haven't seen this? I put this together.
we did.
Oh,
we
yeah,
did,
yeah.
yes,
We're sorry.
yes.
We did see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of all the teams.
I like that.
That's a sweet photo. Look at that.
He looks pretty. That's on the golf course. That's before. So we all got interviewed on a golf course prior. So we all looked the best there.
Right.
But during the race, you saw people with just interviews with this mud on their face and everything like that. That's real. That was reality. I was blown away with, everybody always challenges Bear on, is it really true? Or is he sitting there eating a bat and then he spits it out after it takes over and he's eating the filet mignon behind his tent? No, it is the real deal. Bear was out there in certain sections and, was pop out for an interview. Like, how the heck did he get in here? And he was out there with us. He's the real deal. And I felt that he was a perfect host for this. The years past, there was all kinds of different hosts, but Bear fit perfect with what we were doing out there.
No, listen, everyone knows he's the real deal, man.
Yeah.
The sweet backflip off the helicopter. It's like, all right, he's the real deal.
I wanted to hop up there and do that. And he actually cared about all the races too. He wasn't just like a figurehead that like was reading off a script. So when he saw us, he was like really genuine. Like the part they didn't show in the TV show, but he actually flew and landed in the middle of this river and jumped out of the helicopter and just like hugged us and then hopped in the helicopter and left. It was like
Just gave us a little pat on the back.
it's like, dude, you guys are inspiration. Thanks so much for being out here. Good job, keep it up. And then he took off. It was like, it was so cool.
And he wasn't on camera.
No.
So it was just something he wanted to do. You know, he's flying over and he just sees, he could see, you know, our numbers. He could see our, you know, we're in red. So he knew who we were. He just wanted to come down and say, hey man, keep going. You're doing great. They were really, really wanting everyone to finish. They were really pushing for you not to quit. If you tried to quit, they were in your face, pushing you, come on, let's go. Just like, you know, an aid station in an ultra, you know, the volunteers, and they were out there really trying to encourage everybody. That was what we took away from that, really.
All right, let me take you off record. Hang on a second.